Hi and welcome to Intection. This is my live stream of me showing you how to recover a WPA password Wi-Fi for pen testing. So this will show you how to use Kali Linux to effectively crack a Wi-Fi password. So what I'm going to do first is I need to obviously set one up that's reasonably easy to crack. So I am going to set up the password on my I'm going to set up the password on my device. So what we're going to do first is we're going to switch to my access point so you can see what I'm doing. So let's just scan for a different one. So what we're going to do is we're going to scan for this one. And what I'm going to do is quickly change the password. So I'm on my other machine at the moment changing the password. This is all what happens with live connections. So we shall have a laugh and see how well we go. So I'm just changing my password. So just going in there now. And we're going to change the password to something really simple. So let's do that now. So we're now going to change the password to password. In fact, now I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll change it to Roxanne, Roxanne, and we'll change it to password with a capital P. Password 123. Okay, so I've just done that. So we will see that the access point is restarting. So this is going to be password 123. Okay, so let's just see if that's connected. Just so you can see. Okay, so this device, just to let you know, is a Wi-Fi Pineapple. So I'll just go into show you how this works. When my browser starts up, we'll be okay. But of course, we'll try again. Don't you just love it when these things work out? Okay, we'll just leave it as it is, and I won't show you the Wi-Fi Pineapple. Okay, anyway, let's move forward. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that we have 2 network cards at least on the machine. So I've got 2, 1, 2. This one is inbuilt in the machine, in my Kali Linux machine, and this one is an external card. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to use this external card. And just to have a look at these, we go into ifconfig to see what the cards are called. So ifconfig, and you can see that we have 2 cards. Now I already know that this card is the one I need. So this is the one I'm going to connect to because I've connected it to this wireless network. And that helps me do that. If you're not so sure about your cards, you can use iwconfig. And that will give you the cards as well. It gives you a little bit more information, but it will show you what they're connected to as well. So as you can see on here, the one I was interested in is WLAN1, which was connected to my Simpsons SSD. Okay, so let's clear the screen. So now we know which cards we're going to use. We need to first set the card that we're going to use into a monitoring mode. So to do that, we have to type some commands. So we know which one we want, which is WLAN1. So the first thing you need to do is to start mmon. So AR-NG, and then we're going to say start, and then we give the name of the interface card, which we are going to put into monitoring mode. So in this case, it's WLAN1. Now what will happen now is it's now created a completely new interface. But it's also going to let you know whether or not there are any processes running which may interfere with this. Now for me, I've already done this and I don't need to kill these processes for the purpose of the demonstration, but if you did need to, you would go kill and then the process name, which is one of the process ID, which is one of these, and you just kill each of these until you're happy that they're all gone. I don't need to do this, so I'm going to carry on. So now what we're going to do is just double check that our new interface is up. So we're going to go ifconfig, and now you can see there's a new interface which is WLAN 1 mon, which is at the bottom here. So that's now appeared. Okay, so what we need to do now is we're going to go and now we've got a new interface, we're going to change the MAC address of this interface. Now you would normally do this because if you were doing any kind of capturing, you don't want it to point back to yourself. So first thing to do is we need to take the interface down so that we can change its MAC address, and then we're going to bring the interface back up again. So, so you will do all this with ifconfig. So ifconfig, and then you basically say what you're going to do, the action, which is down, and then the name of the interface. So in this case it's WLAN 1 mon. Okay, and that will now take it down. Says me, who's now can't type. Interesting. Let's try this. ifconfig down. It's because I'm being silly. It's the device WLAN 1 down. Some of the syntax does get you. Right, okay, so now if we could do ifconfig, you can see that the actual WLAN 1 mon is down. Whoops, let's just scroll that back down again. Okay, so now what we need to do is use MAC changer. So MACC. We're going to change the MAC address. Now, the way the MAC addresses work is you give it a new MAC address in the same format as the existing ones. Excuse me. So that's in these 6 octets. So this kind of idea. Okay. So what I'm going to do is give it 00, 11, 22, 33, 44, and guess what? 55. And then you say which interface you want to assign that MAC address to. In this case, it's the monitoring one that we just taken down. So that's WLAN 1 mon. And now it will tell you the old MAC address and the new MAC address. Okay. So now we've done that, we can bring up the monitoring interface that we took down before. So that's ifconfig, and now you give the excuse me, and now you basically give the interface name and then what you want to do. So it's WLAN 1 mon and then up. So now we have them all the interfaces up. So ifconfig. You can see we now have the monitoring interfaces up. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to now we've got our monitoring interface up, we want it to scan the networks just to see what it can see around. So we do that now just by telling it to, initially what we're going to do is do it to screen. So we're going to do air dump. It says me just put too many fingers on the. So arrow dump ng, and then basically the name of the interface WLAN 1, and now we should get it scanning what we can see through that interface. So now what you can see at the top of the screen, you can see all the local networks. that I can see, and the one we're interested, which we obviously only ever do this against any company. If this is part of Pentest, you must have permission to do this. So I have set up a test one, which is the very top one, which is called the Simpsons NA. So what we're going to do is going to cancel this now. So anything at the bottom, everything at the bottom is the all at the bottom of the screen are the non-associated, as you can see, stations. So these are individual people, their laptops, desktops, and phones trying to connect. And then at the top here are the actual stations. So all of this along here. Yeah. So the one we're interested in is this one. So actually, what I want is this MAC address here. So we're going to copy that. Okay. And now at the bottom, what we're going to do now is set up a capture file. So let's just start that off. So as you've got most of it on here, so we're going to start capturing information. So arrow dump, says me, can't type again. NG. We want the channel number that we're listening on. So looking at this, it's on channel 11. So we're going to go for C for channel, then the channel number 11. Next we have to say what we're going to call the file, so -W, and then the file name. So in this case I'm going to call it, let's call it Intection, the name of the channel, and we're going to call it Intection 2, okay, and it's going to write it in the current directory. And then the next thing we're going to do is we have to say what kind, so we have to say the BSSID. So in this case, so it's 2 dashes, so it's BSSID, and then you have to give it the BSSID. So if we go up here, it's what I copied earlier. So if we now right click and go paste, so that's the BISSD. And then the next thing we need to do is say what kind of packets we're going to capture, and it's 2 dashes and then IVS, because we're only interested in IVS packets. And then you say the interface that you want to capture the packets on, which is what we were doing before. So it's WLAN1 MON. So what will happen now, working through this, it's going to use the command arrow dump on channel 11. It's going to write a file in the current directory called Intection 2. It will put .IVS on the end, and it's going to basically scan for anything, only capture packets that relate to this access point, which is our target one, which is Simpsons NA, and also it's going to only capture IVS packets, and again it's going to use the physical card called WLAN1. So we press enter. So now what we need to do is, obviously we're now capturing packets, and you can see the beacons happening there, but the next thing we need to do is to force a deauthentication event. So we need to force people that are already connected to that system to disconnect, which will mean they will complete a handshake, and then we can capture the handshake. So what we need to do now is, I'm just going to zoom this in a bit so you can see it. Okay, so now we're going to send a deauthentication request to on the network, and that will actually force everyone to disconnect. So here we go. So this command is slightly different. Why they're all slightly different in the wording of the commands is weird. So this is air with an E this time, play -NG, and then we're going to say we have to put 0, which means deauthent, and then you say how many packets you want to send. We're going to just send 1, and then you have to say your SSD name. So in this case, it's the name itself, so it's going to be Simpsons, so E, and then Simpsons, which is SIMPNA, and then basically you say what device are we going to send out the packets on, the authentication packets, and we're going to send it out on the WLAN 1 interface. So this will send one set of deauth packets on Simpsons NA on using the interface WLAN 1. So we press enter on that, and now what we do at the top of the screen, we need to watch to see at the very top here if we got a deauthentication, which we didn't get a handshake. So you should see up here handshake. So what I'm going to do now is just force one of my clients to connect. So bear with me. I'm just going on to my iPad. I'm going to force it to connect. So let's have a look. It's because it wasn't connected to it. So just going to connect now. It's going to fail because I haven't given it a password. So let's go for password 123. Okay, it's now connecting, and you can see there's a handshake has happened at the top of the screen. So if I come up here, do you see we've got the WPA handshake? That means we now have a packet captured. So we don't actually need to carry on with this anymore. So what we do now is we Control C that. And now what we need to do is we need to, if we look in the directory, close that other window to get it in the way. There we go. Right. You can see we now have this intection 2. So this one here. So this is actually the packet capture. So what we're going to do is we're now going to copy that. I can't be bothered to copy it in there. So we're going to do it by hand. We're going to copy. In fact, I'll just move it. It's easier into there. Okay. So the one we're actually interested in is not that one. Just remove that out of the way. Okay, so the other thing you need to do is, so I've created a directory structure called Pentest, just so I can put it all together. And in there I've put 2 word list files. So these are word list files. And I've put these files in there. And they enable you to crack the password. So for example, if I look in this one, you can see we have a huge number of word list files, as you can see. And if we now look to see if our password is in there that we're going to look for, let's look for password 123, and we have it in lowercase, which is interesting. So it's found that. So what I need to do actually is I'm going to change that. So let's change that. I'm going to put in this extra password in here above it. I'm going to call it 123. So now we have it twice, yeah? So we just save that. So you need a word list file. I have got a huge one, a huge file, but I'm not going to use that. So there you go. We know we'll be able to find the file, yeah? And then find the password. So that's what a word list file is. Now a lot of people will make it look like, oh, that's really clever, but all it is trying loads of passwords. Okay, so now we have our password file. We also have the capture file, and this is a much bigger password file. As you can see, 1.2 gig. I won't attempt to open that, it'll crash the machine. But again, just make sure you've got a password file. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just change directory into where that is. So Pentest and if we go in there, you can see the files. There's the 3 files. Now the only ones we're interested in is the nmap.list, the word list, and on top of that we also need this one, which is the capture file. Okay. So now what we need to do is set up the commands so that we can actually, if you like, find out what the password was. So that's reasonably easy. So it says me, who now needs to go back into my notes because I always forget commands. So okay. So what you do now is you type in the following command. Oh, incidentally, I'll show you where the word lists are. In Kali Linux, while I remember, if you go into user, then share, and then word lists, and again you can just type it if you wish, but if I go down to word lists, there you go. That's where the ones that come with Kali Linux. Okay, so they're all the word lists that are there. Okay, so what we do now is we just start off the actual crack of the word list. So it's really simple. So it's air crack -ng, and then -w. The name of the word list file in this case is nmap.list. So nmap.list. Obviously we've only got so much time, so we don't want to use a bigger file. So nmap.list, and then the name of the actual capture file that we've got. So in here it's infection, and then literally you just press enter. So now what's happening? Well, you see it found it. So it found it. It checked 400, so looking at this, it checked 444 passwords out of 1,558, and it found the password straight away. And there you go. That's the password for this Wi-Fi access point. So and obviously that's the password there. So if we wanted to connect to it, we could connect to it up here. So that is how you crack a WPA password. Now, just things to note before I sort of end the video is that, of course, the lesson learned here is not to use really silly passwords. So if we go back into the word list, for example, and show you the sort of passwords that are in here. In fact, some of them I won't be able to show you because I believe they're quite rude. But if we just go into the pass list, as you can see, these are the kind of passwords that you've got in here. People use all sorts of passwords, and these have taken off of real world passwords. Now, the more complex you make a password, if it's memorable, then it's pretty easy to crack. This is one way of cracking passwords with what's called password lists. But my advice is to make your password complex, very complex, and keep it in a password safe. But as you can see, people use all sorts of things, and believe it or not, monkey is one of the most common used passwords. So that's where we are. So anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any comments, please leave them below. But thank you very much for watching Intection, and please subscribe. Thank you.